now I'm in the part of the museum that's telling me about the 5 civilized tribes, and this is going to lead up to information about the Trail of Tears. So during the 1820s and 1830s, the major tribes of the southeast were removed from their homelands and they were placed in the west. And these tribes were known as the 5 civilized tribes. So the 5 civilized tribes are the Choctaws, the Chickasaws, the Creeks, the Seminoles, and the Cherokees. So these 5 civilized tribes were considered to have been the most receptive to the civilization policy. And they were acculturated, and we'll talk about what that means later. But they had adopted agriculture as opposed to hunting, which is a big deal for them, and they sent their children to white schools. They had written laws and their own governments, and many had converted to Christianity, which is also a big deal. But in spite of all their efforts, they were all removed from their homelands to the Indian Territory in the west. So this is important, guys, because they changed their whole culture and their whole lifestyles in efforts to try to be able to stay on their homelands, but it still didn't work, and they were still removed and placed in the west. So when they were removed, great population losses were suffered by all tribes, and the Choctaws lost approximately 15% of their people. The Chickasaws, they survived better, but they too suffered losses both when they were traveling to the west and after they got there. The Creeks and the Seminoles lost the most people during this transport to the west, and they both lost about half of their total populations. But as for the Cherokees, the generally accepted number of deaths from the entire removal process was between 4,000 to 8,000 people. So when we say that they had population losses, we mean that these Indian populations began to die.